The Democrat Party has completely lost its way and is going apoplectic at the moment over Donald Trump's recent victories. That as they have all-time lows according to the most recent Rasmussen poll. This as Donald Trump takes main stage last night and draws the battle lines on the messaging and achievements within his first year. The midterm elections are just around the corner. All of these battle lines are being drawn, and this is the topic of today's show. First, let's get over to CNN as they review the most recent Rasmussen polls, and you can hear in their voice they don't like what they see.
How are voters feeling about Democrats right now?
Yeah, I mean, Democrats in the minds of the American public are lower than the Dead Sea. What are we talking about here? Well, let's take a look. The net approval rating for Democrats in Congress, you said it, Kate Baldwin, the lowest ever. Look at this. Overall, they are 55 points underwater. Their approval rating is south of 20%. It's even worse when you look at independents. Look at this. Negative 61 points. That means that their approval rating is 61 points lower than their disapproval rating. Quinnipiac has been polling this question for the better part of the 21st century. They have never found Democrats, at least those in Congress, in worse shape than they are right now.
And that is simple and easy to explain. It's because they have no leadership and they've lost their principles. Their most recent talking points are going up against Donald Trump as he fights the fentanyl crisis and the drug cartels in Venezuela and Mexico. They've also been defending the criminal aliens that are living in our sanctuary states and cities. Going up against the ICE, it's not going to be popular with mainstream America. So is it any surprise that Hakeem, Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and AOC and their messaging is not hitting mainstream America? It shouldn't be, because this is no longer the Democrat Party of your grandparents. This party has been hijacked. This is an experiment, and the experiment is failing. But what's not failing is Donald Trump and his administration. They've had a number of victories that you're going to hear about. Last evening, Donald Trump took main stage, and I'm going to give you the full speech so that you can see where the battle lines are being drawn. This is going to be an important message in making sure that mainstream America sees all of these achievements that Trump and his administration have been making. That said, the one thing that can hold back a Republican sweep, or keep, if you will, in the midterms, is the lack of pull-through that we're seeing with the Republican majority in Congress. This should worry all of us, because Donald Trump's the only one that's getting anything done in Washington. Mike Johnson, who replaced Kevin McCarthy, he's done almost nothing. They've passed 5 bills this semester within the session of Congress. John Thune, he's done absolutely nothing. Donald Trump has been begging John Thune to get rid of the filibuster. He refuses to do that. What Trump knows is that if he can't get his policies through here before midterms, and if he can't secure election integrity laws and rules, the Republican Party is toast. And that's in spite of the Democrat failures. But let's pivot now to Donald Trump's messaging, because again, this is where MAGA is. He has done an outstanding job vis-a-vis his executive orders and the people that he's surrounded himself in his administration in getting traction for what America cares about. So this are the highlights from his speech last evening.
In America, 11 months ago, I inherited a mess, and I'm fixing it. When I took office, inflation was the worst in 48 years, and some would say in the history of our country, which caused prices to be higher than ever before, making life unaffordable for millions and millions of Americans.
Just a quick interruption from the story. If you're an America First voter and you love President Trump, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel. If you could also like this video or leave a comment down below, all of that goes a long way to telling the algorithm to boost us. Believe me, the liberals, the YouTube algorithm, and everybody that isn't America First is trying to suppress our voice again. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now back to the story.
This happened during a Democrat administration. and it's when we first began hearing the word affordability. Our border was open, and because of this, our country was being invaded by an army of 25 million people, many who came from prisons and jails, mental institutions, and insane asylums. They were drug dealers, gang.
So it's going to be important. He's leading with the strong points here of affordability and safety. These, if you recall, during his record-breaking rallies, were the marching orders that America gave him. So he's going to point out some really critical talking points and data sets. Pay attention, because he's had success in spite of what Congress has not done in pulling through his agenda.
Members and even 11,888 murders, more than 50% of whom killed more than one person. This is what the Biden administration allowed to happen to our country, and it can never be allowed to happen again. We had men playing in women's sports, transgender for everybody, crime at record levels with law enforcement, and words such as that just absolutely forbidden. We had the worst trade deals ever made, and our country was laughed at from all over the world. But they're not laughing anymore.
True.
Over the past 11 months, we have brought more positive change to Washington than any administration in American history. There's never been anything like it, and I think most would agree. I was elected in a landslide, winning the popular vote and all 7 swing states and everything else, with a mandate to take on a sick and corrupt system that really just took the wealth from people and crushed the dreams of the American people. For the last 4 years, the United States was ruled by politicians who fought only for insiders, illegal aliens, career criminals, corporate lobbyists, prisoners, terrorists, and above all, foreign nations, which took advantage of us at levels never seen before. They flooded your cities and towns with illegal aliens. They decimated your hard-earned savings. They indoctrinated your children with hate for America. They just released a level of violent felons that we had never seen to prey on innocent. They caused war. They caused mayhem. They caused a horrible situation all over the globe. But now you have a president who fights for the law-abiding, hardworking people of our country, the ones who make this nation run, who make this nation work.
So keep in mind, there's been nothing that he's said so far that's controversial. All of it's fact-based. This is exactly why Donald Trump won this mandate in the 7 swing states and the popular vote. Affordability was his lead message that's polling huge in his favor. Safety, closing the borders and making America safe again. This was a critical message during his rallies, and it was his second point. I'm keeping notes over here so you can see, because each one of these points is going to be consistent not only with what he said at the rallies, but what he's doing now in the Oval Office. Again, it's important to see that what you're getting from the mainstream media this morning and CNN and MSNBC this evening is that he's a fascist, and that he's un-American, and that he's a dictator. Nothing that he said so far should be controversial to anybody that cares for mainstream America.
And after just 1 year, we have achieved more than anyone could have imagined. Starting on day one, I took immediate action to stop the invasion of our southern border. For the past 7 months, 0 illegal aliens have been allowed into our country, a feat which everyone said was absolutely impossible. Do you remember when Joe Biden said that he needed Congress to pass legislation to help close the border? He was always blaming Congress and everyone else. As it turned out, we didn't need legislation. We just needed a new president.
That's right.
We inherited the worst border anywhere in the world, and we quickly turned it into the strongest border in the history of our country. In other words, in a few short months, we went from worst to best. We're deporting criminals.
Again, this is a critical point. If you recall, right, when Joe Biden and his border czar, Kamala Harris, opened up the border, there were hundreds of thousands of people crossing the southern border, not just the the both borders, northern and south, but the southern alone, hundreds of thousands every single month. And what he's saying now is that they've locked it down and there have been zero that have crossed. This all in 13 and a half months. That's impressive. And that's showing you Donald Trump's commitment to what he was positioning in his rallies and before, to close this border down and make America safe again. It's a critical point. Do not lose sight of it, because this is not only polling very well for Donald Trump, but it's also a critical piece as he gets ready for the midterms.
Bring safety to our most dangerous cities. Just take a look at Washington, D.C. It's at levels of safety that we've never seen before. And they decimated the bloodthirsty foreign drug cartels. We did that all by ourselves with our people, and we're so proud of it because they were poisoning and destroying our population.
True.
Drugs brought in by...
Keep in mind, again, what he's getting at. Over 100,000 deaths alone from fentanyl a year. A year. That's more people than died in all of Vietnam. And of course, we can all agree, and I don't want to minimize it, that Vietnam was tragic. Should have never happened. But when you look at the overall deaths, the aggregate deaths that are responsible and pointing directly back to the drug cartel, and specifically with fentanyl and the API that's coming in from China, Donald Trump's manhandled this, and this has been a huge win for America and MAGA.
And by sea are now down 94%. We have broken the grip of sinister woke radicals in our schools, and control over those schools is back now in the hands of our great and loving states where education belongs. After rebuilding the United States military in my first term, and with the addition we are adding right now, we have the most powerful military anywhere in the world, and it's not even close. I've restored American strength, settled 8 wars in 10 months, destroyed the Iran nuclear threat, and ended the war in Gaza, bringing for the first time in 3,000 years peace to the Middle East, and secured the release of the hostages, both living and dead.
And again, is he getting credit for this? Of course not. Not from the liberals. But if you talk to any of the moderates, if you look at those independents that CNN was outlining with the Democrat polls, these people are coming to Donald Trump. They see where he is, they see where his heart is, and they see that he means what he says. He has brought peace to the Middle East. He's been working diligently with Ukraine and Russia. And he's settled a number of other regional conflicts around the world, some of which were, again, told by the pundits that could never happen. Donald Trump made it happen, and we can't forget that. He is a president of peace.
Here at home, we're bringing our economy back from the brink of ruin. The last administration and their allies in Congress looted our treasury for trillions of dollars, driving up prices and everything at levels never seen before. I am bringing those high prices down, and bringing them down very fast. Let's look at the facts. Under the Biden administration, car prices rose 22%, and in many states, 30% or more. Gasoline rose 30 to 50%. Hotel rates rose 37%. Airfares rose 31%. Now, under our leadership, they are all coming down, and coming down fast. Democrat politicians also sent the cost of groceries soaring, but we are solving that too. The price of a Thanksgiving turkey was down 33% compared to the Biden last year. The price of eggs is down 82% since March, and everything else is falling rapidly. And it's not done yet, but boy, are we making progress. Nobody can believe what's going on. Here are just some of the efforts that we have underway. You will see in your wallets and bank accounts in the new year. After years of record-setting falling incomes, our policies are boosting take-home pay at a historic pace. Under Biden, real wages plummeted by $3,000. Under Trump, the typical factory worker has seen a wage increase of $1,300. For construction workers, it's $1,800. For miners, we're bringing...
Again, this is such a critical slide right? When you look at the political strategists, they're going to say the answer to winning an election is always the economy. Stupid. It always is. And when you look at particularly the three on the right here, factory workers, construction, and mining. These are not your typical white collar or technology private sector type of jobs. This is middle America. And Donald Trump has been able to get traction and increase the real wages with these groups. This is going to be critical because, again, when you look at the flyover states, these are the states that Donald Trump won specifically to get to his mandate. When you look at everything that, right, you have your bi-coastal elites in California and New York, and everything in between went red. It was a critical win, and this type of traction early on in his second term can't be overlooked. He's increasing the wages for middle America and low-income workers, the skilled workers, the trade workers, not the tech sector. This is a hard-earned win, and you have to give Trump and his administration some credit here. This is a big deal.
Back clean, beautiful coal. It's $3,300. And for the first time in years, wages are rising much faster than inflation. Remember that. The wages, just look at it. Wages are going up much faster than inflation. How big is that?
This is the momentum that he needs. He's gotten his policies in place here. And again, as you're looking at this next 10 and 12-month period, as we're preparing for midterms, what he just said is going to increase. He's now bent the curve, and he's able to have wages outpace inflation. This is going to be where people are going to vote because they're going to vote with their pocketbook. So Donald Trump is gaining momentum. This, as the Democrats are losing tremendous approval and momentum as we prepare for midterms. It's a big deal.
Very importantly, there are more people working today than at any time in American history, and 100% of all jobs created since I took office have been in the private sector. Think of that. 100% of all jobs have been in the private sector rather than...
So why did he underscore that? Because all of the gains that Biden had, much of the gains that Biden had with the employment numbers, was in government workers. That's where he was going. His policies ignored private America and private business, small business, the heartbeat of the economy. So when you're looking at the gains that he's having being made specifically in the private sector, again, this is a huge deal. And this is something that, quite frankly, a lot of the thought leaders and pundits said could never happen. Well, it did. It did happen. And it is happening. So again, Donald Trump's momentum is swinging big time. Big time. These are all critical data points. So what he's going to finish off with here as he goes through the rest of this, again, is going to be secondary to these affordability, the economy, voting with your wallet, and making America safe again. These are still going to be important points that he's going to go over, but these three are going to be key to the victory and maintaining the majority in Congress for midterms.
Than government, which is the only way to make a country powerful and great. This historic trend will continue. Already, I've secured a record-breaking $18 trillion of investment into the United States, which means jobs, wage increases, growth, factory openings, and far greater national security. Much of this success has been accomplished by tariffs. My favorite word, tariffs, which for many decades have been used successfully by other countries against us, but not anymore. Companies know that if they build in America, there are no tariffs, and that's why they're coming home to the USA in record numbers. They're building factories and plants at levels we haven't seen, AI, automobiles. We're doing what nobody thought was even possible, not even remotely possible. There's never,
everybody said it couldn't be done.
Anything like it.
Remember that.
1 year ago, our country was dead. We were absolutely dead. Our country was ready to fail, totally failed. Now, we're the hottest country anywhere in the world, and that's said by every single leader that I've spoken to over the last 5 months. Next year, you will also see the results of the largest tax cuts in American history.
Pay attention
that
here.
were
This is a big
really
point.
accomplished through our great, big, beautiful bill, perhaps the most sweeping
And this is going to be
legislation
timed
ever passed
specifically in
Congress.
April.
We wrapped 12 different bills up into one beautiful bill. That includes no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. Under these cuts, many families will be saving between $11,000 and $20,000 a year, and next spring is projected to be the largest tax refund season of all time.
This is a huge point. Again, in April, May, June, right? That's when you're going to be getting your refunds back that he's getting at here. This is specifically going back to middle class and lower middle class Americans that would be getting some of these refunds. These are not policies that are benefiting the highest earners. And when it's timed is going to be critical because Hakeem, Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, AOC, Bernie, Nancy, they won't be able to counter message what he's going to get. So he's going to get a second push of momentum in just about 4.5 months. And that's specifically going back to the big, beautiful bill and making sure, again, if you paid attention, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. These are points that were brought up throughout his rally season, and he's staying true to it. He kept his word.
Because of tariffs, along with the just passed one big, beautiful bill, tonight I am also proud to announce that more than 1,450,000, think of this, 1,450,000 military service members will receive a special, we call Warrior Dividend before Christmas, a Warrior Dividend. In honor of our nation's founding in 1776, we are sending every soldier $1,776. Think of that. And the checks are already on the way. Nobody understood that one until about 30 minutes ago. We made a lot more money than anybody thought because of tariffs, and the bill helped us along. Nobody deserves it more than our military, and I say congratulations to everybody. And by the way,
and again, this is going to be a key point. He went through it quickly, but I want to draw this out, that everybody was saying that the tariffs and the impact of the tariffs was going to be penal and not float back or come back to the everyday Americans. In this case, he's taking some of the funds that he's gathering from tariffs and sending it to the military. This is going to be a message that's going to play very, very well, again, with the America First and MAGA base. So Donald Trump is drawing these battle lines clearly. These are all places where it's a clean win for the Trump administration and a clean loss for the Democrats.
we now have record enlistment in our military, and last year we had among the worst recruitment numbers in our military's history. What a difference a year makes. In addition, I'm doing what no politician of either party has ever done, standing up to the special interests to dramatically reduce the price of prescription drugs. I negotiated directly with the drug companies and foreign nations, which were taking advantage of our country for many decades, to slash prices on drugs and pharmaceuticals by as much as 400, 500, and even 600%. In other words, your drug costs will be plummeting downward, and I used the threat of tariffs to get foreign countries who would never have done it to pay the cost of this giant dollar reduction.
Again, so what group voting bloc is going to be affected by this? Everybody that lives in the villages in Florida, right? Your elderly folks. The cost of prescription drugs is predominantly carried by the elders. And when they hit that donut hole and get through all of that with Medicare, Medicaid, the point of the matter is that he went straight to the pharma companies and negotiated most favored nation pricing. This is a big deal. And again, he's isolating the Democrats in something that he's clearly going to win on. This message is important. It goes back to and is tied to affordability, but he's isolating specifically the seniors in this message, which again is going to be a key voting bloc going into the midterms.
Stop ripping us off, and it began as of 4 days ago. There has never been anything like this in the history of our country. Drugs have only gone up, but now they'll be going down by numbers never conceived possible. It's called Most Favored Nation, and no president has ever had the courage or ability to get this done until now. The first of these unprecedented price reductions will be available starting in January through a new website, TrumpRx.gov. And these big price cuts will greatly reduce the cost of health care. I'm also taking on the gigantic health insurance companies that have gotten rich on billions of dollars of money that should go directly to the people. The money should go to the people. That's you. So they can buy their own health insurance, which will give far better benefits at much lower costs. It will be far better health insurance.
This was the easy fix to the broken Obamacare proposals. And, you know, as you see, the subsidies, right, that were being hijacked by the Democrats in the bill, in the fiscal bill, that's what he's getting at. And he did solve the healthcare problem just by simply skipping the healthcare companies altogether. When you get those subsidies, or at least the value of those subsidies, back to the American people and let them vote with their dollar or their wallet, they're going to. And again, when you saw what the Democrats are trying to do, all Obamacare was a healthcare company, gift. It was literally just that. Obama sold it obviously as something else, but the reality of the matter is that the health insurance companies and their stock prices have gone up exponentially since Obamacare came into play. And what Donald Trump is doing is just skipping them. Fine. We'll go back. If you want to go cash pay, if you want to go other model with your health care, with your family, go for it. But we're going to give you the money versus the insurance companies. Again, a clear victory and talking point for the Trump administration going into the midterms.
Current Unaffordable Care Act was created to make insurance companies rich.
True.
It was bad health care at much too high a cost. And you see that now in the steep increase in premiums being demanded by the Democrats, and they are demanding those increases, and it's their fault. It is not the Republicans' fault.
He's exactly
it's
right.
the Democrats' fault. It's the Unaffordable Care Act, and everybody knew it. Again, I want the money to go directly to the people so you can buy your own health care. You'll get much better health care at a much lower price. The only losers will be insurance companies that have gotten rich, and the Democrat Party, which is totally controlled by those same insurance companies. They will not be happy.
Incidentally, and he's not going to go here because he obviously doesn't have the time, but two of the biggest donors to two of the most vocal opponents of Donald Trump, namely Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, who are they? It's the pharma lobby specifically, and within that kind of grouping, you can see that Pfizer was very active with both Warren and Bernie. But he's getting at is exactly true, that you're going to get this anti-establishment message from Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, but at the end of the day, they're accepting money hand over fist from pharma and the lobbyists, and Trump didn't. Trump went around them. And when you look at United Healthcare and everything that was going on right with their Obamacare subsidies, they're all gone now, and they should be. So skipping again when you go to both pharma from a health insurance standpoint and also prescription standpoint, Trump has tackled them both almost within 10 days of each other. This is a huge point. It's going to be a big victory for Donald Trump and a good talking point to continue going into the midterms.
It's okay with me because you, the people, are finally going to be getting great health care at a lower cost. Another major focus is the cost of energy. For years, the radical left Democrats exploited the green energy scam as an excuse to funnel many billions of dollars into their own massive slush funds as their energy restrictions drastically drove up prices, and they drove them up at record levels. Electricity costs surged 30 to 100% under Biden, and the typical family lost $5,000 to $10,000 in higher energy costs. Think of that, $5,000 to $10,000 you lost. On day one, I declared a national energy.
And again, I'm going to pause this. I intentionally took my camera down there for a second, but look in the middle of the screen, right? This is the end. The red line is the end of Donald Trump's first term and Joe Biden's inauguration. And you can see an immediate spike up. This is in effect, the failed policies of the Green Initiative, where obviously AOC and Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden with the environmental hacks were all trying to go against big oil. And it affected everybody's pocketbook. And again, you go sideways here and off to the right, and that's why I wanted to take my camera down. You can see that we went sideways and now we're heading down because, of course, it takes time for some of these policies to kick in. The fact of the matter is that this is, again, another key piece of the puzzle that will be affecting middle America's pocketbook. They will vote with their pocketbook. Donald Trump knows that, and he's driven gas prices down. I think you can all see that in your local gas stations. I know here in the Southeast where I am, it's been a huge, huge impact in the ability to fill up the car for what is effectively about 30% off from where Joe Biden was at his peak.
Emergency. Gasoline is now under $2.50 a gallon in much of the country. In some states, it, by the way, just hit $1.99 a gallon.
Amazing.
And within the next 12 months, we will have opened 1,600 new electrical generating plants, a record, and it's a record that won't be beaten by practically, I would say, by anybody, or certainly not very soon. Prices on electricity and everything else will fall dramatically. The Democrat inflation disaster, again, the worst in the history of our country, also robbed millions of Americans of home ownership and indeed the American dream.
It's true.
The yearly cost of a typical new mortgage increased by $15,000 under Democrat rule. In 11 months, we've already gotten that annual cost down by $3,000, and it's coming down a lot lower.
This is a huge accomplishment. And again, this is, speaking to the voting bloc for the youth, for the younger voters, and first-time home ownership. When you have the ability, and this is all in spite of the Fed doing everything they can to hurt Donald Trump, but when you see this kind of stalling and then decrease with the mortgage cost, it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal. It's all going back to the affordability component. Donald Trump is clearly winning on that.
You see, the numbers are going to be shocking. And I'll soon announce our next chairman of the Federal Reserve, someone who believes in lower interest rates by a lot, and mortgage payments will be coming down even further. Early the new year, and you will see this, in the new year, I will announce some of the most aggressive housing reform plans in American history. A major factor in driving up housing costs was the colossal border invasion.
It's true.
We have never been invaded. This is the worst thing that, frankly, in my opinion, the worst thing that the Biden administration did to our country is the invasion at the border. The last administration and their allies in Congress brought in millions and millions of migrants and gave them taxpayer-funded housing while your rent and housing costs skyrocketed. Over 60% of growth in the rental market came from foreign migrants.
Listen to that, because, again, that's a talking point that the progressives said wasn't the case. 60% of the rental market increase is due to migrants and illegals. Because where else were they going to live? They had to go somewhere. So in this instance, they were spiking, and artificially so, the rental market, and getting them cleared out, again, bends the curve backward or back to having Americans be able to have affordable rent. It's a huge, huge deal, and it combines really 2 points, right? Making America safe again with making America affordable again. These two components he's been driving the whole time.
At the same time, illegal aliens stole American jobs and flooded emergency rooms, getting free health care and education paid for by you, the American taxpayer. They also increased the cost of law enforcement by numbers so high that they are not even to be mentioned. For the first time in 50 years, we are now seeing reverse migration as migrants go back home, leaving more housing and more jobs for Americans. In the year before my election, all net creation of jobs was going to foreign migrants. Since I took office,
Here, I'm going to pause this and take my camera down for a second, just again, because you have to see this, right? When you look at total native-born employment, the Biden administration was flat to down. And when you take the movement and the traction that Donald Trump's just been able to make in 10 months and see this significant increase, right? Going from about 131,000 total employment a month on up to, what is it, just about 15% higher in 12, 13 months. The big deal. Donald Trump owns this.
100% of all net job creation has gone to American-born citizens. 100%. In the end, government either serves the productive, patriotic, hardworking American citizen, or it serves those who break the laws, cheat the system, and seek power and profit at the expense of our nation. Look at Minnesota, where Somalians have taken over the economics of the state and have stolen billions and billions of dollars from Minnesota and indeed from the United States of America. And we're going to put an end to it. For so long as before my election, the vast majority of good and decent Americans were forced to watch as corrupt politicians plundered the halls of power, exploited our taxpayers, and pillaged every system that makes civilized society function.
Right.
But not anymore, and you see that every day. Not anymore. We're putting America first, and we are making America great again. Very simple. We are making America great again. Tonight, after 11 months, our border is secure. Inflation is stopped. Wages are up. Prices are down. Our nation is strong. America is respected, and our country is back, stronger than ever before. We're poised for an economic boom, the likes of which the world has never seen. Soon we will host the World Cup and the Olympics, both of which I got. But most importantly, we will celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. There could be no more fitting tribute to this epic milestone than to complete the comeback of America that began just 1 year ago. When the world looks at us next year, let them see a nation that is loyal to its citizens, faithful to its workers, confident to its identity, certain to its destiny, and the envy of the entire globe. We are respected again like we have never been respected before. To each and every one of you, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. God bless you all.
So again, Donald Trump is bringing his messaging to America. The reason he did this last evening is to go straight to the voter, right? He didn't want to have the mainstream media, the fake news media, manipulate the message. He came at you with data. He was specifically, and again, looking at my notes, talking about affordability multiple times. This is top of mind for everybody. And he proved his case. I think it was very clear. Talking about safe and secure borders. Again, this is polling high with the voters that are going to be getting out in the midterms. The economy and prices. He talked about that, the grocery issue, drugs, and healthcare. He's again tackling that, which is again top of mind for the voters. So, who's winning at this point? You can see how we opened up that with the CNN clip, that the Democrats are imploding. They've lost their way. They've been hijacked by the progressive left. What you're seeing is that the progressive left initiative of DEI, illegal aliens, healthcare for everybody, including non-citizens, all of that, it's garbage and it's not playing well. And what you're going to see is that Donald Trump is now taking his messages straight to the American people, and he's going to be driving these messages for the next 10 months going into the midterms. My question, though, is this for you. Do you see the impact in your wallet? Because if you do, then everybody else does as well. I would say look at, again, not just the egg prices, that was just a headline, but look at fuel, right? Look at your overall affordability and look at, again, what he's trying to do in loosening up the rental and housing market. And he's going to have a little bit more traction, as he hinted at, in January with some new policies. These are all setting Donald Trump up for what is going to be an epic battle. An epic battle. We're holding on to the majority in Congress by just a thread. And you know and I know that if Donald Trump loses the midterm elections and loses his majority in Congress, the Democrats are already starting their articles of impeachment. They're just going to lame duck them, get them impeached, and then we're done, right? We're back to just total stagnation as a nation. So what are your thoughts? Do you agree with where Donald Trump is, and do you think that these messages are going to be key to getting the voter turnout where it needs to be to keep those majorities, and if anything, increase those majorities? Let me know in the comments down below. Our whole goal here at America First Alerts is simple. It's to get the conservative America First principles out to mainstream America. So share this video, like this video if you haven't, and be sure to comment down below. We'll see you in the next video.